The scent of fresh coffee and expensive perfume always reminded Tabitha of beginnings. 6 years ago, she'd walked through malls like this one, the Gangnam Prestige Center, with stars in her eyes and hope blooming in her chest like spring flowers. Now, she walked through them with purpose, her designer handbag swinging against her hip, her daughter Zara's small hand tucked safely in hers. "Mommy, can we get ice cream?" Zara's voice was bright, her eyes, those impossibly dark eyes that mirrored someone Tabitha tried desperately not to think about, sparkled with childish joy. "After we checked the fabric samples at the store, baby girl," Tabitha replied, her voice warm despite the exhaustion that clung to her bones. Running in noir elegance, her boutique that had become the talk of Seoul's fashion district was no small feat, especially not as a single black woman in Korea, especially not as a mother doing it all alone. They rounded the corner past the luxury watch store, and that's when time stopped. Just for a second, just for a heartbeat. A man stood near the fountain, his back to her, but something about the slope of his shoulders, the way he tilted his head slightly to the left when he was thinking. Tabitha's breath caught in her throat like a trapped bird. No, couldn't be. The man turned slightly, and she saw the sharp line of his jaw, now decorated with what looked like the edge of a tattoo creeping up from beneath his collar. His hair was different, styled back instead of the soft, gentle way he used to wear it. His clothes screamed money and danger. A perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than her first month's rent had been. Silver rings on his fingers that caught the light like warnings. "Mommy," Zara tugged her hand. "You're hurting me." Tabitha immediately loosened her grip, her heart hammering. "Sorry, baby. I thought I saw someone." But when she looked back, he was gone. Vanished like smoke, like he'd always been nothing more than a dream, or a nightmare she'd finally woken up from. "Get it together, Tabitha," she told herself firmly. "J1 is gone. He's been gone for 6 years. That man is probably just someone who looks like him from behind." Except her hands were shaking, and Zara was looking at her with concern that no 6-year-old should have to feel for her mother. That night, after putting Zara to bed with 3 stories and 4 kisses, Tabitha stood in front of her bathroom mirror and studied her reflection. She'd grown in 6 years, not just older, but stronger. Her natural hair was styled in goddess locks that fell past her shoulders. Her skin glowed from the skincare routine she'd finally committed to, and her body had changed after pregnancy, but in ways that made her feel powerful rather than diminished. She'd built a life from ashes. When J1 had disappeared without a word, without a text, without any explanation, she'd been 3 weeks pregnant and hadn't known it yet. By the time she'd taken the test, by the time she'd gathered the courage to tell him, his number was disconnected. His apartment was empty. His desk at the marketing firm where they'd fallen in love over late-night strategy sessions and stolen kisses in the supply room, occupied by someone else. He'd vanished like he'd never existed. She'd asked everyone. His friends claimed they didn't know where he'd gone. HR said he'd resigned, effective immediately. It was as if Choi Jae-won had been erased from existence. Depression had wrapped around her like chains for months. But then Zara had been born, screaming and perfect and alive, and Tabitha had made a choice. She would not let his abandonment define her story. She would write her own ending. And she had. Noir elegance was proof. Her daughter's laugh was proof. Her peace, hard-won and precious, was proof. So why did one glimpse of a man who might not even be him threaten to unravel everything? 3 days later, Tabitha saw him again. This time, there was no mistaking it. She was at the boutique, showing a client, a wealthy woman from Cheongdam-dong, a custom jacket design when she glanced out the window. Across the street, leaning against a black Mercedes that looked like it cost more than her entire year's revenue, was J1, or the man J1 had become. He was talking on the phone, his expression hard in a way she'd never seen before. Even from this distance, she could see the tattoos now, intricate designs that ran up his neck, disappearing into his hairline. His suit was impeccable, but there was something dangerous in the way he carried himself, like a blade sheathed in silk. 2 men flanked him, both wearing dark suits and expressions that screamed security, or worse, Ms. Okonkwo? Her client's voice broke through her shock. The jacket. Yes, I'm sorry, Tabitha managed, pulling her attention back, but her mind was spinning, her heart racing. That was definitely him. Definitely J1. But what had happened to him? She finished with her client on autopilot, and the moment the woman left, Tabitha grabbed her phone. Her finger hovered over the contact she'd never been able to delete. My love with a heart emoji she'd added when they'd first started dating. Of course, the number wouldn't work. It never did. But what if she went to him? What if she crossed that street right now and demanded answers? And what would you tell him? A voice whispered in her mind. That he has a daughter? That you've spent 6 years raising her alone? That you loved him so much you almost didn't survive when he left? Tabitha locked her phone and pressed it to her chest. She wasn't ready. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Sunday afternoon found Tabitha at Latte World with Zara, who'd been begging for weeks to go on the rides. They were in line for the carousel, Zara's favorite despite being too old for it, she claimed, but secretly still loving it, when Tabitha heard a voice that made her blood run cold and hot all at once. J1 Appa, you never take me anywhere fun. Tabitha turned slowly, her heart in her throat. There he was, 20 feet away. J1. Looking annoyed and beautiful and so heartbreakingly familiar despite all the changes. Next to him was a young woman, probably early 20s, dressed in designer everything and pouting dramatically. You said you wanted to come here, Mina. We're here, he replied. His voice deeper than Tabitha remembered but still with that same slight rasp that used to make her shiver. They were walking in Tabitha's direction. Move, her brain screamed. Take Zara and go. Now. But her feet were rooted to the spot. And then, oh God. Then, Zara chose that exact moment to drop her stuffed bunny and run to pick it up, darting directly into J1's path. Everything happened in slow motion. J1 stopped short, looking down at the little girl who'd nearly collided with him. Zara looked up, bunny clutched to her chest, and said in her sweetest voice, Sorry, mister. Tabitha watched J1's face, watched as his eyes swept over her daughter, over their daughter, without recognition, without understanding. Why would he see it? He didn't know Zara existed. It's okay, he said softly, and something in his voice cracked. For just a second, the hardness melted, and he looked like the man Tabitha had loved. Be careful, little one. I will. Zara bounced back to Tabitha, oblivious to the fact that she'd just met her father for the first time. But J1 was still standing there, frozen, because now his eyes had lifted and landed on Tabitha. The world tilted. Recognition crashed over his features like a wave. Shock, disbelief, something that might have been pain or joy or terror. Tabitha couldn't tell. His lips parted, and she saw him mouth her name even though no sound came out. Tabitha? She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stare at the man who'd been her everything, her ghost, her greatest love and deepest wound. Choi Jae-won. The name tore from her throat before she could stop it, loud enough that people turned to stare, loud enough that her voice cracked on the last syllable. His eyes went wide, and the woman next to him, Mina, looked between them with growing confusion. But Tabitha didn't care about her, didn't care about the people staring, didn't care about anything except the fact that he was here, he was real, and he'd left her without a word. Jaewon took a step toward her, his face a mess of emotions she couldn't parse. Tabitha, he said again, and this time his voice worked, rough and wrecked. You're really here. Mommy? Zara's small voice cut through the tension. Do you know that man? Tabitha looked down at her daughter, at those eyes that were Jaewon's eyes, and felt something inside her chest crack wide open. When she looked back up, Jaewon was staring at Zara with an expression Tabitha couldn't read. We need to talk, Tabitha managed, her voice shaking. Yes, Jaewon breathed. Yes, we do. The cafe Jaewon suggested was private, too private. The kind of place where velvet ropes and security guards kept out anyone who wasn't on a very exclusive list. Tabitha had left Zara with her friend Minji, making up some excuse about a business meeting, trying to ignore the knowing look in Minji's eyes. Now she sat across from a stranger wearing Jaewon's face. He changed so much. The tattoos were even more extensive than she'd thought. She could see them peeking out from his collar, crawling up his neck like dark vines. One disappeared behind his ear, intricate and beautiful and completely unlike the clean-cut man who used to worry about wearing the right tie to meetings. "You look," he started, then stopped, his jaw working. "God, Tabitha, you look incredible." She wanted to throw her coffee at him. She wanted to cry. She wanted to reach across the table and touch him just to make sure he was real. Instead, she wrapped her hands around her cup and said, voice cold, "You disappeared." The words hung between them like an accusation, like a gravestone. J1 flinched. Actually flinched. "I know. You know?" Tabitha's voice rose despite her best efforts. "You know? That's all you have to say? You vanished, J1. 6 years ago. No call, no text, no explanation. Your phone was disconnected. Your apartment was empty. I thought..." Her voice cracked. "I thought you were dead. I'm so sorry." His hands were on the table now, reaching toward her but not quite touching. She could see scars on his knuckles, new ones, the kind that came from fights. "Tabitha, I'm so fucking sorry. If I could have... If there had been any other way." "Any other way to do what?" Tabitha demanded. "What happened to you?" The J1 I knew wore cardigans and worried about quarterly reports. He brought me tea when I worked late and blushed when I kissed him in public. He was gentle. He was good. She gestured at him, at the expensive suit and the tattoos and the hard edge in his eyes. "Who are you?" J1 was quiet for a long moment. His jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and rough. "My father was Choi Dae-young." The name meant nothing to Tabitha, and her confusion must have shown on her face. "He was the leader of the Biko faction," Jae-won continued, and now there was something broken in his voice. "One of the most powerful organized crime families in Seoul. The White Tiger Syndicate." Tabitha's blood ran cold. "What? I didn't know," Jae-won said quickly. "I swear to God, Tabitha, I didn't know. My mother... She left him when I was a baby, took me away, changed our names. She told me he was dead. I grew up normal. Went to university, got a job, met you." His voice softened on the last two words. "Fell completely in love with you." Tabitha's heart was hammering, but she forced herself to stay silent, to let him talk. "And then one day I got a phone call. My father, the man I thought was dead, was actually dying for real. Cancer. He had 6 months, maybe less, and he wanted to see me. His only son. His heir. So you just... left?" Tabitha's hands were shaking. "You just walked away from everything? From me?" "No." Jae-won's hand shot across the table, covering hers before she could pull away. His touch was warm, familiar, and it hurt. "God, no. I went to see him once. Just once. I was gonna tell him to go to hell, that I had my own life, that I didn't want anything to do with his world. But when I got there..." He paused, his thumb unconsciously stroking over her knuckles in a way that made Tabitha want to both pull away and lean closer. "His enemies had found out about me. About you. There were photos, Tabitha. Pictures of us together, of you leaving work, of us having dinner. They were going to use you to get to him. And then, his voice broke. And then they were going to kill you anyway. Just to hurt him." Tabitha felt like she'd been punched. "What?" "I had one choice," Jae-won said, and now his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Disappear completely. Make it look like I'd never cared about you. Make it look like you were nothing to me. Let them think they were wrong, that you weren't important. Or let them kill you." The cafe suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. "So I left," Jae-won whispered. "I changed my number, emptied my apartment in one night, quit my job. My father's people created a paper trail making it look like I'd gambled away everything and fled the country. And I went to him, took my place in the Biko faction. Because that was the only way to protect you." Tabitha pulled her hand away, pressing it to her chest. Her heart felt like it was trying to break through her ribs. "You could have told me. You could have. They were watching you," Jae-won interrupted, his voice fierce. "For months after I left, they watched to make sure you weren't a threat, that you really meant nothing. If I'd contacted you, if I tried to explain, they would have killed you. I had to make them believe you were just another girl I'd gotten bored with." Tears were streaming down Tabitha's face now, hot and angry and sad. "I grieved you. I mourned you like you were dead. I know. God, Tabitha, I know, and it killed me. Every day for 6 years, it killed me. But you were alive. You were safe. And that was all that mattered. And now, Tabitha demanded. What's changed? Why are you still here, walking around Seoul with bodyguards and tattoos and… She waved her hand at him. All of this. Jae-won's expression hardened. My father died 4 years ago, and he left everything to me. The Biko faction, all of it. I tried to walk away, tried to dismantle it from the inside, but he laughed bitterly. Turns out organized crime doesn't work like that. There were people who depended on my father's organization, not just criminals but regular people. Shop owners he protected, families he supported. If I just walked away, there would have been a power vacuum, a war. People would have died. So you stayed, Tabitha said quietly. I stayed. I took over. I made changes, got us out of the worst stuff, drugs, human trafficking. The Biko faction under me is different. We're more legitimate now, but I'm still the leader. He gestured to his tattoos. The ink is tradition, marking who I am. I can't take it back. They sat in silence for a long moment. I saw you 3 days ago, Tabitha finally said. Across from my boutique. Something shifted in Jae-won's expression. You own Noir Elegance? You knew. I've known where you were for 4 years, he admitted. Since I took over and had the resources to check, to make sure you were safe without putting you in danger. I've driven past your store 100 times. I've watched you succeed, watched you build something incredible. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. I've been so proud of you, and I've hated myself every single day for not being able to be part of it. Tabitha didn't know what to say to that. That little girl, Jae-won said suddenly, at the amusement park. She called you mommy. Tabitha's entire body went rigid. This was it. This was the moment. Yes, she managed. She's beautiful, Jae-won said softly. How old is she? Don't answer. Change the subject. You don't owe him this. But Tabitha had never been good at lying, especially not to him. 6, she whispered. She watched him do the math. Watched the exact moment it clicked. His face went white, then red, then white again. 6, he repeated, his voice hollow. Tabitha, that little girl. When's her birthday? September 15th, Tabitha said, and each word felt like pulling out her own teeth. 3 weeks after you disappeared. Jae-won stood so abruptly his chair fell backward with a crash. The security guard at the door started forward, but Jae-won waved him off with a sharp gesture. I have a daughter, he said, and he sounded absolutely wrecked. Oh my God, I have a daughter. For 6 years, I've had a daughter, and you didn't. He turned to her, his eyes wild. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you? Tabitha stood too, anger flooding through her like fire. How was I supposed to tell you? You were gone, Jae-won. And then when I found out you were alive, when I saw you at that mall, you were surrounded by bodyguards and danger and everything you just told me about. Was I supposed to walk up and say, hey, remember me? Surprise, you're a father. Want to meet your daughter and put a target on her back. The truth of it seemed to hit him like a physical blow. He stumbled back a step. Her name, he said hoarsely. What's her name? Zara. He said it like a prayer, like a benediction. Does she know about me? She knows her father had to go away before she was born, Tabitha said carefully. She knows he didn't leave because he didn't love her. She's asked questions, and I've done my best to answer them without. She gestured helplessly. Without this. Jae-won was pacing now, his hands in his hair. I missed everything. Her birth, her first steps, her first words. 6 years, Tabitha. I know, Tabitha said, and her voice was gentler now despite everything. I know what you missed. I was there. He stopped, turned to face her. I want to meet her, properly. I want… God. I don't even know what I want. I want to know her. I want her to know me. I want… He broke off, his voice cracking. Jae-won, Tabitha said slowly. You just told me you're the leader of a crime syndicate, that people were willing to kill me to get to you, and you think I'm going to just… What? Let you into her life? Let you put her in danger. I would never let anything happen to her, Jae-won said fiercely. I would die first. I would burn down the whole damn city first. That's what I'm afraid of, Tabitha shot back. They stared at each other across the wreckage of 6 years and all the words left unsaid. Finally, Jae-won spoke, his voice low and intense. The Biko faction is different under my leadership. Legitimate businesses, protection that actually means protection, no drugs, no trafficking, no unnecessary violence. I've made enemies because of the changes I've made, but I've also made it safer. I can protect you both. I can. This isn't about what you can do, Tabitha interrupted. This is about what's best for Zara. And I don't know if that's having a father who's marked with tattoos that announce to the world who and what he is. The words were cruel and she saw them land. But she didn't take them back. I understand, Jae-won said quietly. I do. But Tabitha, she's my daughter. I can't just walk away again. Not now. Not knowing. Tabitha closed her eyes. When she opened them, she'd made a decision. One meeting, she said. Supervised. Somewhere public. And if I decide at any point that it's not good for her, you walk away. Tabitha, those are my terms, she said firmly. You left, Jae-won. I raised her alone. I get to decide this. The muscle in his jaw jumped, but he nodded. Okay, yes, anything, whatever you want. Tomorrow, Tabitha said, the park near my boutique, 2 p.m. And Jae-won. Yeah, don't break her heart, Tabitha said, her voice breaking on the last word. I can forgive a lot of things, but if you break her heart, I will never forgive you. I won't, he promised. I swear on everything I am, I won't. Tabitha gathered her purse, her hands still shaking. She made it halfway to the door before his voice stopped her. Tabitha? She turned. I never stopped loving you, Jae-won said quietly. Not for a single day. Tabitha's heart twisted painfully in her chest. But she didn't say it back. Couldn't say it back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She just walked out into the sunlight and tried to figure out how to explain to her daughter that the father she'd asked about for 6 years was finally ready to meet her, and tried not to think about the fact that part of her, a part she desperately wanted to ignore, had never stopped loving him either. Tabitha barely slept. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. Jae-won's face when he'd realized Zara was his daughter. The way his voice had cracked when he'd said her name. The tattoos that marked him as dangerous, as other, as everything she'd never imagined him becoming. And underneath it all, the terrible, wonderful, devastating truth. She'd spent 6 years telling herself she'd moved on, that she was over him, that the love she'd felt had died when he disappeared. She'd lied. At 3 a.m., she got up and padded down the hall to Zara's room. Her daughter slept like she did everything else, with total abandon, one leg hanging off the bed, her stuffed bunny clutched to her chest. In the moonlight streaming through the window, Tabitha could see so much of Jae-won in her face. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her chin, the way her lips pursed slightly when she dreamed. He's going to see it immediately, Tabitha thought. He's going to look at her and see himself, and it's going to destroy him all over again. Mommy! Zara's sleepy voice made Tabitha jump. Why are you crying? Tabitha hadn't even realized she was. She quickly wiped her eyes. I'm not, baby. Just thinking. About the man from the park? Zara sat up, suddenly more awake. At 6, she was already too perceptive for her own good. The one you called a name at. Tabitha sat on the edge of the bed. Yes, about him. Do you know him? This is it. Tell her. Tell her now. I knew him, Tabitha said carefully. A long time ago, before you were born. Zara was quiet for a moment, her little brow furrowed in thought. Then, is he my daddy? The question hit Tabitha like a freight train. What? Why would you? He has the same eyes as me, Zara said simply. And you looked at him the way you look at my baby pictures. All sad and happy at the same time. Tabitha felt tears threatening again. When had her baby gotten so wise? Yes, she whispered. Yes, he's your daddy. Zara's eyes went wide. Really? My actual daddy? The one who had to go away? Yes. Is he still going away? Good question. Is he? I don't know, sweetheart. But he wants to meet you. Tomorrow at the park. Would you like that? Zara threw her arms around Tabitha's neck so fast she nearly knocked them both off the bed. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I want to meet him. What's his name? What's he like? Does he know about me now? Is he nice? Will he like me? The questions tumbled out so fast Tabitha couldn't answer them all. She just held her daughter and tried not to cry. His name is J1, she said finally. And baby, he's going to love you so much. How could he not? The park was crowded for a Thursday afternoon, filled with mothers and nannies watching children play. Tabitha had chosen it deliberately, public enough to be safe, familiar enough that Zara would be comfortable. They arrived 15 minutes early. Tabitha was too nervous to be late. Zara was vibrating with excitement, practically bouncing on her toes. She'd insisted on wearing her favorite dress, the purple one with butterflies that Tabitha had made for her birthday, and had spent 20 minutes making sure her hair was perfect. Do I look okay, Mommy? Will he think I'm pretty? You're beautiful, Tabitha assured her for the 10th time. You're absolutely perfect. At exactly 2 p.m., a black car pulled up to the curb. Not the Mercedes from before, but something lower key, less conspicuous. Tabitha's heart started hammering as the door opened. J1 stepped out, and Tabitha's breath caught. He'd tried. Really tried. The tattoos on his neck were covered with makeup. Not completely. She could still see shadows of them if she looked closely, but enough that he looked less intimidating. He wore simple clothes, jeans and a button-down shirt that reminded her painfully of the old J1, the one who used to meet her for coffee before work. But his hands were shaking as he walked toward them. Zara, Tabitha said softly, putting a hand on her daughter's shoulder. That's him. Zara stared, suddenly shy in a way that was completely unlike her. She pressed against Tabitha's side. J1 stopped a few feet away, and Tabitha watched emotions play across his face so fast she couldn't track them all. Wonder, joy, grief, love. So much love it made her chest ache. Hi, he said, and his voice was barely above a whisper. You must be Zara. Zara nodded, still pressed against Tabitha. J1 knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. Tabitha saw tears on his cheeks, but he was smiling. It's so nice to meet you. I've wanted to meet you for a very long time. You're really my daddy? Zara asked in a small voice. Yes, J1 said, and the word came out broken. Yes, I really am. Why did you go away? The question was so simple, so direct, and Tabitha watched J1 struggle with how to answer. I had to, he said finally. There were some bad people who wanted to hurt the people I loved, and I had to go away to keep you and your mommy safe. But I thought about you every single day. Even before I knew you existed, I thought about your mommy, and I hoped she was happy and safe. Did you know about me? Zara asked. No, J1 admitted. I found out yesterday, and it was the best and worst day of my life. Best because I found out I have you. Worst because I realized I missed so much. Zara seemed to consider this. Then, in that mercurial way of children, she announced, Mommy says you loved her. Do you still? Zara, Tabitha gasped. But J1 was looking at Tabitha now, his eyes intense and full of everything they'd left unsaid. Yes, he said. I still do. Very much. Tabitha's heart stuttered. Good, Zara said decisively. Because Mommy gets sad sometimes when she thinks I'm not looking. And I think it's because of you. Zara, Tabitha tried again. But Zara had apparently decided that J1 was acceptable. Because she suddenly stepped forward and asked, Can you push me on the swings? Mommy pushes good, but you're taller. You can probably push me really high. J1 looked at Tabitha, asking permission without words. Tabitha nodded, not trusting her voice. She watched them walk to the swings together, watched Zara's little hand slip into J1's much larger one, watched him carefully help her onto the swing and start to push, gentle at first, then higher as Zara squealed with delight. And she realized, with a clarity that was almost painful, that she had a choice to make. She could hold onto the hurt, the anger, the 6 years of doing it alone. She could protect herself and Zara from the possibility of being hurt again. Or she could be brave. She could take a risk, She could maybe, possibly, believe in second chances. She was still watching them, trying to decide, when a man appeared beside her. He was young, early 20s, wearing an expensive suit and an expression that was carefully neutral. Ms. Okonkwo. Tabitha tensed immediately. Who's asking? My name is Park Tae-min. I'm Mr. Choi's associate, second in command of the Biko faction. The words were delivered matter-of-factly, but Tabitha's blood ran cold. If you're here to threaten me. No. Tae-min held up his hands. God, no. Nothing like that. I'm here to, I don't know. Talk? Explain. Explain what? Tae-min glanced over at Jae-won and Zara. He's been a ghost for 6 years. Did you know that? Not the leaving you part, after. When he took over the faction. He was there, he led, he made decisions, but he was hollow. Like someone had scooped out everything that made him human and left just the shell. Tabitha didn't know what to say to that. And then yesterday, Tae-min continued. He came back from meeting you and he was alive again. Angry and devastated and happy and a complete mess. But alive. And I realized, you're the piece that's been missing. I didn't ask to be anyone's missing piece, Tabitha said sharply. I know. And I'm not here to convince you of anything. I just wanted you to know. The Biko faction under Jae-won is different. Really different. We don't run drugs, we don't traffic people, we don't hurt innocents. We're mostly legitimate now, protection, some gambling that's technically legal, real estate. Jae-won has spent 6 years trying to turn his father's legacy into something he doesn't have to be ashamed of. But it's still dangerous, Tabitha said. Yes, Tae-min agreed. It is. There are still enemies, still people who want to see Jae-won fail. But he has good security, good people around him. And if you and your daughter, if you give him a chance, he'll protect you with everything he has. We all will. Before Tabitha could respond, there was a commotion near the swings. A woman was there. The same woman from the amusement park, Mina, and she was talking to Jae-won with animated gestures, her voice carrying across the park even if Tabitha couldn't make out the words. Zara had stopped swinging and was watching with wide, uncertain eyes. Tabitha was moving before she consciously decided to. Tae-min falling into step behind her. Completely insane, Mina was saying as they approached. You disappeared for hours yesterday. You've been distracted all week. And now I find you at a park with some woman and a child? Mina. Jae-won's voice was tight with warning. This is none of your business. None of my... We're supposed to be meeting with the Songpa crew in an hour. You can't just blow off business for... I said it's none of your business, Jae-won repeated. And now there was steel in his voice that made even Tabitha take a step back. But Mina was either brave or stupid. She turned to Tabitha, her eyes raking over her with obvious disdain. So you're the one, the ex-girlfriend. I heard about you. Mina, I'm warning you, Jae-won started. What's your angle? Mina interrupted, still focused on Tabitha. You show up after 6 years with a sob story and suddenly she's my daughter. Jae-won cut in, his voice like a whip crack. Mina's mouth snapped shut. She looked at Zara, really looked at her, and Tabitha saw the moment the pieces clicked together. Oh, Mina said faintly. Oh, Mina is my cousin, Jae-won said, his tone slightly softer. My father's brother's daughter. She works with me, but she forgets sometimes that I'm the one in charge. I didn't know, Mina said, and she actually looked shaken. Appa, you never said. I didn't know either, Jae-won said. Until yesterday. Now you need to leave. I'll deal with the Songpa crew later. But, now Mina. Mina looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Jae-won's expression made her think better of it. She gave Tabitha one more long look, assessing rather than hostile now, and then turned and walked away. The tension that had been crackling in the air dissipated somewhat. I'm sorry, Jae-won said immediately, turning to Tabitha and Zara. I didn't know she would follow me. I should have been more careful. Is that lady mad at us? Zara asked in a small voice. No, sweetheart, Jae-won said, kneeling down again. She was just surprised. She didn't know about you yet. But she's not mad. How could anyone be mad at someone as wonderful as you? Zara smiled a little at that. Can we keep swinging? Actually, Taemin spoke up. If I might make a suggestion, my wife owns a cafe about 2 blocks from here. Private garden in the back. Might be more comfortable for everyone. Jae-won looked at Tabitha. Would that be okay? Tabitha wanted to say no. Wanted to take Zara home, back to their safe, predictable life. But Zara was looking at her with such hope, and Jae-won's expression was so carefully neutral while his eyes screamed please. Okay, Tabitha heard herself say, but just for a little while. The cafe Jae-won suggested was private, too private. The kind of place where velvet ropes and security guards kept out anyone who wasn't on a very exclusive list. Tabitha had left Zara with her friend Minji, making up some excuse about a business meeting, trying to ignore the knowing look in Minji's eyes. Now she sat across from a stranger wearing Jae-won's face. He'd changed so much. The tattoos were even more extensive than she'd thought. She could see them peeking out from his collar, crawling up his neck like dark vines. One disappeared behind his ear, intricate and beautiful and completely unlike the clean-cut man who used to worry about wearing the right tie to meetings. You look. He started, then stopped, his jaw working. God. Tabitha. You look incredible. She wanted to throw her coffee at him. She wanted to cry. She wanted to reach across the table and touch him just to make sure he was real. Instead, she wrapped her hands around her cup and said, voice cold, you disappeared. The words hung between them like an accusation, like a gravestone. Jae-won flinched. Actually flinched. I know. You know? Tabitha's voice rose despite her best efforts. You know? That's all you have to say? You vanished, Jae-won. 6 years ago. No call, no text, no explanation. Your phone was disconnected. Your apartment was empty. I thought. Her voice cracked. I thought you were dead. I'm so sorry. His hands were on the table now, reaching toward her but not quite touching. She could see scars on his knuckles, new ones, the kind that came from fights. Tabitha, I'm so fucking sorry. If I could have. If there had been any other way. Any other way to do what? Tabitha demanded. What happened to you? The Jae-won I knew wore cardigans and worried about quarterly reports. He brought me tea when I worked late and blushed when I kissed him in public. He was gentle. He was good. She gestured at him, at the expensive suit and the tattoos and the hard edge in his eyes. I want everything I threw away 6 years ago. I know I have no right to ask. I know I hurt you, but I never stopped loving you, and I don't think I ever will. Tabitha's heart was racing. It's not that simple. I know. You're the head of a crime syndicate. I know. There are people who want you dead, and I'll make sure they never get near you or Zara. Jae-won said. I have resources now. Money, security, power. I can protect you both. That's what I'm afraid of, Tabitha said. That you'll protect us right into the same world that made you disappear in the first place. Jae-won was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. What if I told you I'm working on getting out? Tabitha looked up sharply. What? The Biko faction is mostly legitimate now. Another 2 years, maybe 3, and I can transition everything to people I trust and step back. Not disappear, I'll still have influence, still be connected, but not as the leader. Not as the person with the target on his back. You can do that? I'm doing it, Jae-won corrected. I've been working toward it since I took over. I never wanted this life, Tabitha. I took it to protect you, and I've stayed in it because people depended on me. But now I have something more important to protect. Someone more important. He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of his skin. I can't give you promises of perfect safety, he said. I can't pretend my past won't always be part of me. But I can promise you that I will spend every day for the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you both. Of another chance. Tabitha looked down at his hand, at the scars on his knuckles, at the edge of a tattoo peeking out from his sleeve. Then she looked at Zara, who was showing Taemin a flower she'd picked, her face bright with joy. I need time, she said finally. It's too much to process. 6 years, Jae-won. You can't just show up and expect everything to go back to how it was. I don't, Jae-won said quickly. I know it won't be the same, can't be the same, but maybe it could be something new, something better. Maybe, Tabitha allowed, but slowly, very slowly, for Zara's sake. Whatever you want, Jaewon said. However long it takes. Tabitha finally let her hand move that last inch, let her fingers brush against his. The touch was electric, familiar and foreign all at once. You hurt me, she said quietly. You broke my heart. I know. If you do it again, if you hurt her, I won't, Jaewon promised. I swear on everything I am, I won't. Tabitha wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. Okay, she said. We can try. Supervised visits at first. Nothing that will overwhelm her. And we'll see how it goes. The smile that broke across Jaewon's face was like sunrise. Thank you, Tabitha. I won't let you down. You'd better not, Tabitha said, but there was no heat in it. Mommy, Daddy. Zara's voice made them both turn. She was standing in the middle of the garden, holding a bouquet of wildflowers she'd collected. Look what I picked. Can we come back here? I like it here. Daddy. Jaewon repeated the word like a prayer. She called me Daddy. Don't make me regret this, Tabitha muttered, but she was smiling. 2 months later, Tabitha stood in front of Noir Elegance, checking her reflection in the window one more time. The dress she designed for tonight's fashion show was perfect, all flowing silk and strategic cutouts that made her feel powerful and beautiful. Inside, the boutique had been transformed. Models were getting ready backstage. Music was being tested. Chairs were arranged for the guests. This was the biggest night of her career. The show that would either launch her into Seoul's elite fashion circles or confirm that she was just another small business owner with dreams too big for reality. And she was terrified. You look incredible. Tabitha turned to find Jaewon standing behind her, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than some cars. The tattoos on his neck were visible tonight. She'd told him he didn't have to hide them anymore, that Zara knew who and what he was and loved him anyway. You're early, Tabitha said. The show doesn't start for another hour. I know. I wanted to see you before. Give you this. He held out a small box. Tabitha took it, her hands trembling slightly. Inside was a delicate necklace, a silver chain with a small pendant shaped like a white tiger. It's beautiful, she breathed. It was my mother's, Jaewon said. The only thing I have of hers. She gave it to me before she died, told me to give it to the woman I loved. He paused. I've been carrying it for 6 years, Tabitha, waiting for the chance to give it to you. Tabitha felt tears threatening her carefully applied makeup. Jaewon, you don't have to say anything, he interrupted. I know we're taking things slow. I know you're not ready to be what we were, but I wanted you to have it, to know that even when I was gone, I was yours, only yours. Tabitha touched the pendant, feeling the weight of it, the meaning. Help me put it on? Jaewon's hands were gentle as he fastened the clasp, his fingers lingering for just a moment on the back of her neck. Where's Zara? Tabitha asked, trying to steady her racing heart. With Taemin and Jihai. They're bringing her in 20 minutes. She's very excited to see her mommy's big show. Jaewon smiled. She's been telling everyone at her school about it. Apparently, half her class is coming. Tabitha laughed. Of course she has. They stood there for a moment, close but not quite touching. Thank you, Tabitha said finally, for these past 2 months, for being patient, for being there, for being you. I should be thanking you, Jaewon said, for giving me another chance, for letting me know her, for... Tabitha kissed him. It wasn't planned. She didn't think about it, didn't analyze it, just leaned up and pressed her lips to his. It was soft, brief, barely more than a brush of contact. But when she pulled back, Jaewon's eyes were wide and bright. I'm not ready for everything, Tabitha said quietly. Not yet, but I'm not ready either. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, Jaewon said, his voice rough. Good, because I think maybe I never stopped loving you either. Even when I wanted to, even when I tried. Jaewon's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. We'll figure it out. Together this time. Together, Tabitha agreed. From down the street, she could hear Zara's excited voice calling, "Mommy," and she stepped back, smoothing her dress. "Show time," she said. Jaewon smiled. That old smile she remembered from before, gentle and warm and full of love. "You're going to be amazing." And watching him walk toward their daughter, watching Zara launch herself into his arms with complete trust and joy, watching the pieces of her broken heart start to knit themselves back together, Tabitha thought maybe, just maybe, they were all going to be amazing. Together. The Biko faction headquarters wasn't what Tabitha had expected. She'd imagined something dark and ominous, all shadows and secrets. Instead, it was a sleek office building in Gangnam, indistinguishable from any other corporate headquarters. Jaewon met her in the lobby, his face lighting up the way it always did when he saw her. "You sure about this?" he asked, taking her hand. "I'm sure," Tabitha said. They took the elevator to the top floor, where Jaewon's office overlooked all of Seoul. Inside, Taemin was waiting along with several other serious-looking men and women. "Everyone," Jaewon said. "This is Tabitha Okonkwo, my fiancée." The word still sent a thrill through Tabitha. They'd gotten engaged 3 months ago, in the garden of Taemin's cafe, with Zara as their witness and accomplice. "As I told you all last week," Jaewon continued, "I'm stepping down as active leader of the Biko faction. Taemin will be taking over day-to-day operations. I'll remain as advisor and will still handle the most important decisions, but I'm transitioning to a less visible role." There were murmurs around the room, but no one seemed surprised. They'd known this was coming. "The faction is in good hands," Jaewon said, looking at Taemin. "Better hands than mine, probably. And I have other things I need to focus on now. My family." After the meeting, Jaewon and Tabitha walked to the parking garage hand in hand. "No regrets?" Tabitha asked. "None," Jaewon said firmly. "This life took me away from you once. I won't let it happen again." They drove to Zara's school to pick her up, and Tabitha watched her daughter run toward them, her backpack bouncing, her smile bright enough to light up the world. "Daddy, Mommy, guess what? I got an A on my science project." "That's amazing, princess." Jaewon scooped her up, spinning her around while she giggled. "Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" Zara asked. "Absolutely," Tabitha agreed, as they walked toward the ice cream shop. Zara between them, holding both their hands, Tabitha thought about how far they'd come. From loss to rediscovery, from heartbreak to healing, from broken to whole. It hadn't been easy. There had been difficult conversations, setbacks, moments when Tabitha had wanted to give up. But they'd fought for this, for each other, for their family, for their second chance. And it had been worth it. "I love you," Jaewon said softly, meant just for her. "I love you too," Tabitha replied. Zara looked up at them both and grinned. "And I love both of you. We're the best family ever." Tabitha caught Jaewon's eye over their daughter's head and saw the same thought reflected there. Yes, they were. Finally, after everything, they were exactly where they were meant to be. Together.
Hello besties, in this story we learned that true love endures through sacrifice, but healing requires courage to trust again. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.